Hello and welcome to another edition of Choose to Challenge. I am LaWanna Bradford, and for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, Choose to Challenge is a platform designed to push the envelope a little bit, challenge those mindsets, systems, institutions that limit us from advancing and elevating to our best and highest self. This is a platform where conversations can get raw and can get real. But at the end of the day, you're going to be inspired, motivated, hopefully, to do something different, to choose to challenge things in your life and in business. Today, I have a very special guest, none other than Dr. Linda R. Jordon. And this woman is amazing. I had the opportunity to meet her in Michigan at Michigan State University last month. And you never know how small the world actually is. And I found out that Dr. Linda is friends with my childhood friend from Italy. Talk about small world. But the other thing that wowed me was just her passion and enthusiasm, which I think you will see when I bring her to the stage. She has a desire to help inspire and elevate women to change their mindset, to level up their game. She is an author, she's a speaker, she's a changer, she is an influencer, and she is a leadership for the now. When we talk about a woman who is choosing to challenge, she has challenged obstacles. I'm wearing pink today. So our conversation is going to go a little bit into the breast cancer awareness and how that journey has helped fuel and empower her platform even more. So the next voice that you will see here and the next person you'll see on stage with me will be none other than Dr. Linda Jordon. Hello, welcome, Dr. Linda. How is it going?
It is going fabulous. Hope things are going well for you.
They are. Thank you. Thank you. Well, today I thought the appropriate title for this show was Desire, Determination, and Discipline, and where you will share a little bit about you and your journey, both professionally, now as an entrepreneur, a speaker on major stages, a new author, congratulations, and a conqueror, a conqueror. So if you can, tell me, how did you get to this point in life where of all your amazing experiences, you decided, you know what, I think it's time to take the stage?
Wow, that's a great question, and sometimes I have to ask myself, how did I get here? But truly, the way that I actually got here is, as I tell everyone, I was blessed with breast cancer, and that's really how I got to this point. Um, I worked in corporate America for 27 and a half years, and like most people, I thought that, I was going to retire and sit back and enjoy life. But as I tell people, I was blessed with breast cancer. There was a different plan for me, and so I had to be obedient and follow that plan. And so I did. So I took early retirement from work once I was diagnosed because I needed to focus on my health and make sure that I did what was necessary. And during the time of, you know, recovery, it allowed me to really think about what is my next phase of life. I'm a wife and a mom, and so my daughter was in high school, in college at the time. So it gave me time to really think about what was going to be my next step because I wasn't going to go back to corporate. And through watching TV and on the computer while I'm recovering, it just came to me one day when I was reading one of John Maxwell's books, and I said, "Hey, I'm pretty good at coaching. So I started in that venue first, and that's here I am today.
And it's amazing that you said that breast cancer is a blessing, and often individuals go through life, go through challenges, and they don't see that. They see things as a curse. So why me? How do I get this, move this mountain?
Right.
Where does that grit, that resilient type of mindset come from?
It comes from, the way that I was brought up. I was raised on a farm in Virginia, and my parents, they worked on the farm. There was no public income coming in. So my dad was a farmer, so we had, cows, we had chickens, we had pigs, we had tobacco farms, cotton, cucumbers, you name it. And that's the way that we survived. And so it was an everyday, not necessarily grind, because we enjoyed what we were doing, but it was work. So that's where I really got my values from. And, no matter how hard it may be, you keep plowing through. And so I have carried that with me from childhood all the way into adulthood. I also carried it into the corporate space. And when I was working, I gave 110%, 365. But then when cancer came about, I had to give that to myself and become that entrepreneur. And oddly enough, I really didn't realize that my parents were entrepreneurs until I became an adult. I'm thinking, yeah, they go to work, but it just didn't dawn on me until I became an adult. I'm like, yes, they've been entrepreneurs. And because I always wondered, how did I get here? But it was a natural transition for me.
I love that, and you're right. When we're growing up, our families just our families, right?
Right.
We know mom and dad might be working, but yeah, that's pretty powerful. So they were planting seeds all along, and it, like you said, it just became a natural transition for you.
Yes.
I like what you talked about is the values, and often one of the things I talk about are like the three states. Like when we were on stage in Michigan together, I
Yeah.
was talking about how you can get hit with that wave. So with you, it was a cancer diagnosis, and
Hmm.
you can be frozen, right?
You're right.
You don't want to deal with it. You're the ostrich, or you're running around like the frenetic Chicken Little. Did you fall into any of those buckets? And if so, how did you rise up? Like I know you got the values, right? But
Hmm.
that's pretty scary.
So when I got the diagnosis, like everyone, you're in shock and you're trying to digest it. But it was only for like a nanosecond that I allowed myself to, I guess, sort of grieve a little bit.
Mhm.
But very quickly, I'm a very proactive person. So I'm a plan, plan, plan. There's an A, B, C, and D. If I could throw an E in there, I would. And so that's really what I did. I did allow myself at least 24 hours to really just grieve. And my family was here, my husband and my daughter. So we really just talked about, what was going to happen next. But right after that, I mean, literally, I had scheduled my doctor's appointments that very next week, and I hit the ground running because I don't like to wait on things. And I wanted this out of my body, number one. It's like, this
Right.
can't stay here because I've got things to do. And so you do have to allow yourself time to grieve or time to think about it, time to process. And it's going to be different for everybody. For me, it was very short because I knew that I needed to make a change very quickly. At that particular time, I was the person working in the corporate space. I was the breadwinner for the family. My husband has his own business, but I was carrying the benefits, all that types of stuff. So I knew I needed to make a change very quickly so that I could continue my supporting the family, but also continue the things that I wanted to do and needed to do. So most people would probably say, you needed more time. No, I didn't need more time. And I haven't stopped ever since.
I love that. What would you say to the woman that's listening right now? It's like, okay, you're you're Dr. Linda. You have this great family, wonderful values, supportive husband and family around you. you're a planner, you come from corporate, life was good. It was easy for you to say, okay, let me take a moment, let me pause, and let me jump in. I'm different. I'm a single mom. I don't have anyone. I don't have the education to even know how to figure this out. I don't have an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to someone like that? How can they lean into what is
Mm-hmm.
and still rise up in spite of it?
I would say to that individual that, first of all, it may appear that it was easy for me. You see, I studied and worked on my dissertation during my recovery. I had my laptop sitting on my lap. So I was still working while I was healing. I'd have surgery one week and then go back to working on my dissertation. But what I would actually say is that number one is to really think hard about what is it that you as the individual want out of life. So figure out, how is your life right now? And once you come to that conclusion, then you need to figure out, how do you want your life to be? Because if you don't have people around you to support you, then you need to find individuals or network with other women that can help and support you. Because it is hard, it's not an easy thing to deal with. And sometimes I had a lot of people around me, and then sometimes I didn't. And so I understand and know what that feels like. But you have to reach out to individuals, connect with them, whether it's your church family, or if it's you have children, if it's the parents at the school, or if the school teachers, but have at least two or three resources that you can connect with, whether it's in person or virtually. And you want to do that because there are moments when you may not feel so great. And you want to make sure that you can reach out to someone and just have that conversation. And that will help you feel so much better. So reach out to those individuals and just share what's going on with you that for that particular day. I know that's probably a long answer, but
No, that was great, and thank you. Sometimes we need to just sit in that, and you said two things. I loved how you prefaced it. All about reflection. So again,
Mhm.
you focus your now platform is focusing on shifting and changing those mindsets,
Yes.
and which helps to empower us. And you said, look at your life today. Like, where is it?
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't want to look at it, right?
No, we don't.
We want to live in fantasy world, but you're like, no, let's pause for a minute. Let's look at it.
Right.
And then you said, how do you want life to be? And
Hmm.
ladies, if you're listening, lean into that piece there, because sometimes we're so busy doing that we forget how to dream.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
That's the dreamscape right there. So just sitting in that and allowing your divine creativity to flow and paint the picture
Hmm.
of what you want, right? To paint
Right.
it, to embrace it. Like you said, I got things to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is an obstacle. I got to get over this because I
You
got
got to get over it.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, there is a third component to that. The third component is, what are you willing to give up to get there?
Mm. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's a deep one because I don't want to give up anything, right?
Most people don't want to give up anything, but
Wow.
and you may not have to, but you really have to reflect to think, is there something that's blocking you to get to where you need to go? And
And
oftentimes, unfortunately, it's the people that are closest to us, because you may have a dream or desire to get to one point and people can't always relate to that. So they may say, girl, you have lost your mind. What are you trying to do? Don't do that. You may lose money. And then you think about that and then you don't move forward. But that's really what you want to do. So sometimes you have to give up friends, family, coworkers that are close to you, and not necessarily giving them up completely, but just for that moment to allow you to focus on you and what you need to do. Because when those naysayers say you can't do that, that's when you start to think that I can't do it. It's not possible. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. And I don't know how. So you have to block that out. And it doesn't mean get rid of them forever, but keep them at a distance until you can progress to where you need to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. Dr. George Fraser often says, bless and release them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's sad, but everyone doesn't think the same. And if people haven't been exposed to a different type of life, they don't know what it's like. And they have that fear that you're not going to be successful. Someone's not going to help you along the way. But there's so many opportunities out there for women as well as men, but definitely for women to progress and be their own boss, be their entrepreneur, and get what they rightly deserve.
Yeah, I so agree. The fourth point that you made is to reach out for support. And I know that it can be very difficult to, raise your hand and say, I need help.
Yes.
And what I found, I wasn't diagnosed with cancer, but I did have a cancer diagnosis, is just when I opened my mouth,
Hmm.
the sister and brotherhood that just surrounded me was like, where all these people come from? I had no idea how many people had been impacted directly or indirectly by cancer until it hit me.
Yeah.
And that they were so willing to just envelop me in love and not tell me what to do, but it's like, I'm here for you.
Right.
They got it.
Yeah.
Did
And
you
that's
find
really all
that?
you need. Yeah, that's really all you need. And sometimes I would, pick up the phone or go on Facebook and connect with, high school classmates. And when you do that, I found out from one of mine, she was going through the same thing. So if you don't reach out to others, you don't know what people may be experiencing. You don't know where they are from a physical state of mind. But people are always willing to help. And so even if it's just 5 minutes, someone to have a conversation to say, "How are you doing today?" That makes the world of difference. It really does. So definitely connect with individuals. There's all different types of women network groups, cancer groups. And sometimes people are not always the individual who has the cancer may not feel that I can just go out there and connect with someone because they don't know me. But when they hear your story, it's amazing how everyone knows you, and there's such that it's hard to describe, but it's an immediate connection to that person, and they're so willing to help. So we just have to let our guard down and be okay with asking for help.
I love that. We're going to take a short break and come right back with the
All
amazing
right.
Dr. Linda Jordon. We are back with the amazing Dr. Linda R. Jordan on Choose to Challenge. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we are talking about desire, determination, and discipline, her journey with breast cancer. And she shared some amazing tips and what you need to do in identifying where you are, painting where you want your life to be, basically blessing and releasing those that no longer serve you at that immediate time, and then being willing to reach out and ask for help. Find that support group that's going to gird you up as you journey through. You said something right before we went to that brief break. You said the power of your story. When did you realize post recovery how powerful your story is and how it is going to help you to change, shift, transform lives around the world? And I'm going to throw this in because I believe when you change one life, Dr. Linda,
Hmm.
you've just changed the next generation. Let's talk about the power of your story.
So I realized the power of my story was when I met a young lady and we were looking at a property. And she wanted to rent the property. And so we were, just having a general conversations because that's kind of what I do. And in the conversation, talking about rentals, she was explaining her situation. And she said to me, I've recently gone through breast cancer. And my eyes popped open. It was an immediate connection. And as she told her story around her journey and the things that she went through, I had to share my story with her. And I did that because she had made some choices that she was not happy with, and choices that were still impacting her today. And that was because she had a lack of knowledge of how to, number one, take care of herself, but most importantly, number two, specific questions that she needed to ask the physician. And she is now still suffering because of the choices that she made, but based upon the information that she did not have. And so after that, I just started telling my story everywhere I go. And I always start off with, I was blessed with breast cancer. And then I tell my story. And what I've realized is that the more I tell my story, the more people want to hear it. But also, the more that it changes those lives of those individuals. And most importantly, it allows women now to make a different decision about their health. And they do that because I was willing to tell my story. And, my husband said I'd even do crazy things. And because I had a breast cancer reduction with reconstruction at the same time. And women would always ask, so what does that look like? And I'd throw up my shirt and show them. Because they wanted to see, because they're like, I've heard of this, but I have no idea what that would look like and how that would look on me. So, we would go into the restroom, and I would show them because they wanted to see, and I was willing to share. Now, I don't do that anymore, but in the early stages. And it was just, for some reason, I kept connecting with other women, and I still do it today. And it's so important to share your story, because it could just be one piece of information that could impact that individual and help change their life, and maybe help them make a different decision for them. So that's the reason I share my story, because there are people that really need to know. There are people that may not know what questions to ask. Their doctors may not share information if they don't ask the right question. So I make it a point to make sure that I tell my entire story, the questions that I had to ask, the decisions I needed to make, in light that would help the next person make a better choice for themselves, so that they can live their best life.
I love that. Educate me. You said breast reduction, breast
Yeah,
augmentation.
yes, augmentation. So I did the mastectomy with reconstruction all at the same time.
Oh, okay. So you didn't wait, because I hear people wait like months.
No, no. I had the conversation with my oncologist, and she connected me with the plastic surgeon, all in the same hospital. They worked really well together. So I said, we're going to tag team on this, because I don't want to do this again. So they did the double mastectomy, and then the plastic surgeon came in, same surgery, and did my reconstruction, because I used my own body fat.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
So a
no.
lot of women don't know about that. They've heard about it, but they've never met anyone. When I share the story, they're like, I've never known anyone or met anyone that actually did that, and it was successful, and it was for me.
How would you recommend individuals find a physician? And I'm assuming that once you go and you receive the diagnosis, then that your physician at that point is providing you with recommended consults, or were you just kind of left on your own to find out who's the best in the area?
No, I asked my oncologist. Number one, I said, okay, I have cancer. Not sure what to do, but what would you do if you were in my shoes? And she, told me what she would do. And I said, we're going to do that. And then I said, who would you get to do the reconstruction? She goes, well, she was explaining there's different doctors and plastic surgeons all around. And I said, well, who would you choose? And she told me, and I said, we're going to choose him. And that's how I made my decisions. Because even when I talked to the plastic surgeon, he was a male, and I said, okay, this is what I want done, and tell me what you would do. And so he explained, and I said, well, if this was your wife, what would you do for your wife? And he says, this is what I would do. And I says, we're going to do that. I did everything that they said they would, how they would treat themselves or their own family. And that's how I made my decisions. And I did that. And most people are like, well, why would you do that? Because these are the professionals. And if they're going to do certain things to make sure that their family is taken care of and getting the best treatment, then I want that. And that's how I made my decision.
I love that. You shared so much there. I want to pause for a moment to reintroduce. We are here with the amazing Dr. Linda R. Jordon, and sharing her personal journey of recovery from breast cancer, but how sharing her story and breast cancer being a blessing for her has helped her to position herself to transform, elevate the lives of women around the world. This show, Choose to Challenge, this conversation is not intended to treat, diagnose any illnesses. We are here just sharing a lived experience. If you do find yourself in a state of crisis right now, the numbers below, you can also text 988 if you're in the US. If you have any health concerns, please seek out professional medical advice. And I'd like to talk about that because you said they're the experts. You didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So I want to pivot this a little bit now to what you are doing in your business as an entrepreneur. Sometimes individuals say, you know what, I want to do this business. I want to go into entrepreneurship, and I got it. I can go to Google University. I'm going to figure it out because I don't want to pay someone else.
Right.
Now, obviously, much more grave situation here when we're talking about our health, right?
Right.
But can you imagine if you had said, okay, I hear you, I've got the diagnosis, and I'm just going to sit and Google and figure it out and come up with my own medical plan and find someone that I hope knows what he or she is doing, and we'll figure it out. You leaned in to expert advice.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you are an expert entrepreneur. You are that guiding light, helping women to elevate, to shift their mindsets. Let's talk to the ladies who think they can do it all by themselves, who think that Google University and ChatGPT are the only way to go.
Well, I would say that you have to connect with other people. You cannot do it alone. And you may say, well, yeah, I can. I will tell you that you really can't, because I tried to do it by myself as an entrepreneur. And I quickly realized, I would say within 30 days, that it ain't going to work. So I had to invest in myself by connecting with other individuals. I had to do some additional learning. Now, yes, I was still working on my PhD, but at the same time, I had to invest in having a coach. I had to invest in finding someone who was good at marketing, because I sucked at marketing. I was not great at it. And I wasn't sure how to put all the pieces together. I knew what the pieces were, but I wasn't sure how to put them together. I had a plan in my mind that I thought was going to work, but I quickly found out that that plan, it may have worked a little bit, but it wasn't bringing in enough money to survive. And so having a coach, someone that helped me create a business plan, have a strategy in place, have a marketing plan in place so that I could be successful. Now, I will tell you that it wasn't inexpensive. When you go into business, you truly have to look at it as an investment in yourself. Don't think about that, oh, this is a huge expense. I can't afford it. I've got to pay this. I've got to pay that. But it's an investment. And when you look at it that way, that you're investing in yourself for the long haul, then it's not so painful. So I had to do that. And yeah, I had to make some adjustments in my personal life in order to make that happen. You have to make some sacrifices at times. But again, remember I said earlier, what are you willing to give up to get there? So I was willing to give up. I stopped shopping. I don't, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't need to have clothes every week. I don't need to have shoes. I don't need to get my hair done. I don't need to get my nails done. So I had to look at what was I spending my money on that I needed to turn that around and reinvest it in me a different way. And you'll be surprised as how much money you can save and then take that money and put it towards your future. So that's really what I did. And it may sound like, oh, that seems so simple. It really isn't. I had to document. I had to have my daily journal of everything that I'm doing to make sure that I was on point with everything. But you definitely have to connect with other people, get with women networking groups. They're very beneficial. Some of them are free. And, at the end of the day, you've got to really think about, where is it that I want to go? What are you willing to give up to get there? And once you're okay with that, you will sail like nobody's business. But you've got to be okay with it. And it may not be the right time for you right now, and that's okay. Maybe it's 30, 60, 90 days. 2024 is around the corner. So maybe that's your opportunity then. But you've got to start planning. You've got to start planning. Don't think about it today and say, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow. No, you've got to plan so that you can really hit the ground running and be successful.
I love that. So, ladies, did you hear that? You've got to start planning. It's never too late. And again, I'm going to challenge you. How important is your why to you? Mm-hmm. You have this one life to live. We hear that over and over again, but that's true. And tomorrow isn't promised. So no. How much are you willing to invest in you? How much do you love yourself to give yourself the best? If you're not certain, if you need some help with being coached and guided along that way, Dr. Linda is here to help you unpackage and uncover and explore what that means for you and how you can expand. And you're right, when we're investing in ourselves, it's a little scary, right? It's like, oh my God, what do you mean this is a $10,000 program or $20,000, or I don't want to do all of that. But let me put it this way. Most of us want to have a roof over our heads. And we don't think about that so much as an investment. But typically, it is the largest purchase that most individuals will ever make. So without thinking about risk, even without reading the lengthy contracts and disclosures, we sign 20, 30, 40-year commitment. We don't even look at the amortization schedule to see how much we are actually paying for this property that was valuated at, you say $250,000. But over the course of, some people are doing 40-year mortgages today. You're investing over $1 million. We don't give any thought to that. Why? Because it's lifestyle, it's protection, it's security, it's what we want for ourselves. If you're going to do that, make the biggest investment, not read the disclosures, be willing to pay more for a property than what it was worth. Are you not more valuable than that home you live in? What do you have to say about that, Dr. Linda?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
It's just a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, because I'm a real estate investor and I can totally relate to that, because I see people, they will sign 20, 30 pages. Yes, yes, yes. And that's good. But you're right. We don't think about it because we don't see the long haul of how much we're spending over that 30, 40 years. It's the same thing with buying a car. We don't think about it because it's like, we got to have a car to drive and we got to have a house to live in to keep a roof over our head. But when it comes to how we're going to pay for that, We don't think about it because we became comfortable, or we have become comfortable in our 9 to 5 because it's comfortable, it's cozy, it's a paycheck that's going to come, we assume, every so many 2 weeks or once a month. We become comfortable with that. But the world is changing right as we speak today. So that 9 to 5 is not always guaranteed. Those benefits are not always guaranteed. And so you have to have a plan B or C just in case your company goes under, or just in case they decide that they're going to right size or downsize. And when that happens, they don't give you a whole lot of notice, but you've got to have a plan, a strategy in place to be prepared for that, to take so that you continue to pay for that car and that roof over your head for that house, because that mortgage payment is not going to stop and that car payment is not going to stop. So, I created a side hustle while I was doing my 9 to 5. Sometimes people have to do that. But we have to change our mindset when it comes to investing in ourselves. We invest in ourselves for education. A lot of times we don't think about it. But when you talk about, like you said, investing in your personal development and growth, we kind of pull back a little bit because we're afraid of spending that 10 or 15 or whatever that dollar amount is. But that's when you really need to say yes, as opposed to saying yes to, a $500,000 house that you're going to spend 1.5 million over the 30-year time period.
Exactly. I just want to put this up here. Are you willing to change your mindset when it comes to investing in you? Think about that. Let that sit in. Well, I want to take another quick break, and then we want to come back because I want to learn more about your book.
Oh, sure.
Okay. We'll be back in one moment. We want to give a salute to our sponsor, Chemo Buddies for Life.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a Chemo Buddy for Life.
We are a Buddies Network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are Chemo Buddies for Life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
I love the work that organization is doing, and one of the things you said is finding your support. And when Tamara Hunter was diagnosed with breast cancer, she realized that there are so many people that were going to their treatments alone. Mm-hmm. And so she started this national nonprofit to create a buddy network, whether it's needing someone to actually be boots on the ground with you, that phone call support, resources, information. So pretty phenomenal work that she and her team are doing. So tell me about this book. Drum roll.
Yes, here it is. So it's called Unleash Your Inner CEO, A Country Girl's Guide to Being Your Own Boss. And I wrote that book because it brought back a lot of memories around, and exactly what we talked about today, my values. It came from being a girl on the farm, a country girl on the farm. And I took that and put it into what are the steps necessary for women like me to go from here we are on the farm to being, in the corporate space, and then being the CEO of your own business. So there's some, I call them kernels, that I share with the reader around things that they need to do in order to be successful as an entrepreneur.
What's the number one? I know there's numerous lessons, in an entrepreneur journey, but I don't want to say number one. What is one nugget, if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience?
I say that the number one nugget is be true to yourself. Be your authentic self. Don't try to put on this type of armor or cover to be what you think people want you to be. You have to be who you are designed to be in life. And that's really what will help you progress or propel in life. Because when we are trying to hide behind something, it delays our path. It delays where we're trying to get to. But just be your true and authentic self. Bring your whole self into your business, and you will be successful.
Let's unpackage that a little bit. I like what you said, and we hear that a lot. And it's becoming cliche, right?
Yeah.
Be your authentic you. What is that really when we've spent decades perhaps hiding behind the mask, being what other people want us to be? It reminds me of in psychology, it's Maslow's looking glass self, and it says you are not who you think you are. You are not who people say you are. You are what you think other people say you are. Again,
Right.
going back to that mindset, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, we're so busy concerned about what are other people saying about me, or we're trying to fit and conform, whether it's in physicality or position. You hear the whole fake it till you make it thing.
Yep.
And that we lose who we are. Like if you ask someone, tell me about you, they'll typically talk about their titles.
Yes.
Right? So how can people begin to rediscover themselves? Because I don't believe yourself is ever lost. I believe sometimes we lose focus on our true nature. So how do you guide individuals to rediscover, reconnect?
How do you reconnect? Well, you have to be, number one, know who you are and be comfortable with who you are and where you are in your space. Oftentimes, we as women, we're not always comfortable. And I wasn't always comfortable in the corporate space because I was wearing a mask, because I was the only African American female on the leadership team, period, male or female. So I was wearing a mask because I was trying to fit in, and I wasn't my true and authentic self. And I never really realized that until I did an assessment and it talked about, your home life and your business life. And I was so different from here than I was, at home. And we wear that mask because we're trying to fit in, we're trying to connect, but we can actually do that if we are authentic and we are comfortable with who we are. And it's okay, because sometimes we may feel like you're the only person in the room that looks like you. So therefore, we've got to change. And then when we try to change, then we keep changing. It's like a chameleon. We just keep changing. And then we get lost in who we were originally. So when I became my own boss, I was just Linda. And Linda is as Linda is. And people accepted me for who I was. But when I was in corporate, it wasn't always that way. I was just trying to fit in. So what I would say to individuals is be comfortable with being in your own skin. And then you will always be true and authentic to yourself and to others.
I love that. My birthday is in May, and this year, well, I've been in business as a serial entrepreneur for over 30 years. And as a woman of faith, during one of my meditation times, I heard God say, "Why are you still hiding?" Like, what are you talking about? I'm not hiding. I'm having this argument with God. And it's like, yeah, you're hiding behind your brand. I'm like, yeah, the Bradford group. That's why it's the Bradford group. That's my name. But when I sat in that, I realized he was right. People didn't know LaWanna Bradford.
Right.
They knew the company. So in the values of the company, but who am I? What do I represent? Why does my voice matter?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, what do I want my legacy? And in May, that's when everything started to shift. And I started to speak actually publicly. Like you said, the power of your story. I started to share my story because I'm a very private person. I thought, this is about business. No one needs to know. Man, all that emotional stuff, that has no place.
Right, right.
And so what I found is when I started to shift that, and like you said, step into my truth and own it and dominate it, because no one can be me but me.
That's right.
I started meeting some amazing people like you. Doors started opening that I didn't even know existed, because I believe we are brought here to accomplish something.
Yes.
So the world is looking for you. And I love Sir Richard Branson. He's got hundreds of companies.
Yes.
But somehow the world knows Richard Branson.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because he stepped from behind the mask of virgin, right?
Yes.
And he allowed the world to see everything about him. And he just recently did a documentary when I was on the flight, watched it. It was a great documentary showing the challenges, right, in business, and how he almost lost it all and had to call mom and dad to bail him out. They mortgaged their home.
Wow.
To help him. So again, as you journey through life and in business, there's always going to be something.
Yes.
Right? There's going to be something, but he's true. No one can argue that he's not who he says he
is. Right.
And I think that's what I hear you saying is you've got to identify who you are, embrace that, own it, and walk in it, right?
Yeah, you really have to. And it's interesting you brought that up, because when I started my business, I struggled with the branding piece. I had all these fancy names and, flashy colors, and I was going to do this and that. And then I got a coach, and she's like, branding is about you. It's not about your business. And so that's why my website is my name, because I want people to know who I am, not necessarily my company. It's about me. And you have to choose me in order to be in my company. And so that's why my website is lindajordan.com. Made it simple, but I had all these fancy names, and because I thought that's what people wanted. And that's really not what people will remember. And that's the most important thing.
That's huge. So did anyone catch that golden nugget? It's not what people will remember. You want to be memorable, indelible, right? You want people to remember your name. This is just a little funny sidebar. It was a movie with Brad Pitt. Oh my gosh. Why can I not remember? Dealing with the Trojan Horse. Do you remember that movie?
No.
Well, there's a scene, and I apologize for whatever reason, the movie just blanked out of my mind. But there's a scene in the movie where he is about to go off to war, and a young boy comes to him, and he's like, "No, you can't do this." And Troy, the movie's called Troy.
Oh, okay.
And Brad Pitt was playing Achilles. And Brad Pitt looked at the boy as he jumps on his horse, and he said, "That's why no one will remember your name." That for me was the most profound moment in the movie. It's like, so in business and in life, what are you doing to be memorable? And I think when we come from behind the mask, when we are comfortable in showing the world us,
yes,
that's when people remember us. That's when it becomes indelible.
Yeah. Right? They have to connect. There's got to be a connection somewhere, even if it's one little thing that they may remember. That's really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we are about to close. I want to give you an opportunity to show your book again, tell the audience all the great and wonderful things that you have going on, how they can connect with you, and what's next for Linda.
Sure. So, yes, so my book is here. It's called Unleash Your Inner CEO, A Country Girl's Guide to Being Your Own Boss. And you can find this book on Amazon. So the e-copy is available. I believe it's 99 cents. And if you want a hard copy of the book right now, you just go to my website, which is lindajordon.com, and request one, and I will get that mailed to you. So you'll get a signed copy in your mailbox right to your home address. So what's going on with Dr. Linda? Right now, we're preparing for 2024. And so in November, if you go to my website, you'll see a new class that I have coming about. And so my goal is to help women learn how to effectively communicate so that they can excel in business and their professional lives. So all the information is on my website of what's coming up next. And just reach out to me at www.lindajordon.com, and or you can send me an email at linda@lrj-consulting.com, and I respond very quickly to all inquiries that come in the mail. But definitely go to Amazon, get the copy of my book, Unleash Your Inner CEO, A Country Girl's Guide to Being Your Own Boss, because we as women, we need to boss up and take charge of our life.
I love that. Let's see that book one more time. Hold it up proudly. Here it is. Get your book. This is an opportunity to expand your library. If you're an entrepreneur out there thinking about being an entrepreneur, know a young girl who could be inspired by this book, who's trying to find her way. It's gift giving time around the corner, so get your copy. She said you can get a soft copy on Amazon as well as a hard copy at lindajordon.com.
Absolutely.
Wow. This has been amazing, Dr. Linda. Thank you so very much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, to all of our listening audience, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week for another edition of Choose to Challenge. Ladies, gentlemen, make sure you do what you need to do to stay well. Check yourself. And remember that in life and in business, sometimes we have to challenge life's obstacles. But also remember that when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, be blessed, everyone.
Bye.